I'm Riley, I'm 16, I'm almost 17. What do you see when you look at me? I'm just a boy, I'm just a teen with a cool bow tie, but there's more to that. This is who I am. While you look at me and you don't see anything wrong, about a dozen surgeries tell a different story. My life's pretty typical. I go to school, I play sports, I walk my dogs, some nights I work, I have a great family, I have a great church family. So what's not so typical is I have a bone disorder. And I go to Shriners Hospitals for Children several times a year, and that's why they're part of my family.
So when Riley was about 15 months old, in his own way, he was telling me that his finger hurt. And he couldn't straighten it. It was the right ring finger. He couldn't really verbalize it, but I could see there was a bump on his knuckle and he couldn't straighten his finger. And I'm not sure that it hurt him, but it bothered him that he couldn't straighten it like his other fingers. So we went to the pediatrician. It was time for his 15-month checkup, and I mentioned it to him, and he said, well, we can take an x-ray. He looked at it and he said, it just looks like an extra piece of bone, nothing to worry about. I wasn't happy with that answer.
His left arm would always stick out a little bit farther, and older he got, worse it got.
I went to a pediatric orthopedic physician here in Orlando. So they did a full body x-ray. When I first saw the x-rays on the screen, my stomach dropped. I knew at that moment something was terribly wrong. So his bones were not nice and straight and smooth. It was not a normal picture of a skeleton that we're all used to seeing in science class. He had these bumps just all over, and one very significant one on his left arm, which is what was causing the bowing that his dad could see. So the doctor had described it as something called hereditary multiple exostoses. It was so rare, and I had asked him if he had had any other patients with this, and he said no. I was on the phone with my mom, kind of telling her everything that was going on, and she said, well, what about Shriners? And it's like this huge light bulb went off. We immediately got the information, filled out the application, and within a month he was accepted, and a couple months later we had our first appointment with Dr. Hess.
I've known Riley for quite a long time, and we've followed him through his development, and we've had to intervene in the upper extremities to try to best the development of his skeleton.
Riley has multiple hereditary exostosis, which creates abnormal bone growth near the growth plates. So as he grows, the bone may grow abnormally at different places in his body. Over the course of his skeletal growth, the bone growths change and his knees change, and it changes how he's able to function. Riley is relatively severe in that every one of his bones is involved. However, with the partnership between myself and Dr. Hess and the occupational therapy and rehabilitation therapy teams, we've been able to stay on top of his condition and make sure that any bone growths that are painful or problematic to him are addressed by the surgical and rehab teams.
Riley came to me privately one time and told me that a lady at church had told him that she was praying that God would heal him. And he kind of went back and then he thought about that and he was just kind of uneasy about that statement. And he came to me and he said, I don't really think I want God to just completely heal me because of the opportunities that my disorder has actually given me to kind of speak into especially little kids' lives. And but he was actually using it to impact people's life around him.
One of the best things that happened to me this year was meeting Theodore.
Through the hospital, we had heard about this little boy that lived over near Daytona that also has the same disorder as Riley.
And so I remember Riley, I was anxious when I knew they were showing up to the Daytona International Speedway. And as soon as he walked through the door, I remember scanning him, as a mother would. And I saw his arm and I saw his leg, and I also saw that he was just smiling and handsome, and he drives and has a job and goes to school and all these normal things.
The hospital's giving me all these events and it's PR related. I hopefully will follow in those footsteps of, the PR world when I grow up. I plan on becoming a Shriner myself, and, hopefully one day I'll be able to be potentate of one of the Shrine centers, and, I want to be known as a guy who gave up his time, his money. My Shriners Hospitals for Children journey isn't over yet. There's always a possibility of more growths and more surgeries. And I will always have this condition, which has given me a new perspective on life. This disorder isn't a crutch, it's not an excuse, it's a reminder of all the amazing people I've met, like my friends, my church family, Theodore, and my Shriners Hospitals for Children family. If anything, all that has happened to me in life has made me who I am today. So this is who I am. Now I want to know more about you.